So if you ever pay attention to history and you understand the playbook of authoritarianism, you understand that what's going on in the United States and our government is not something new. It has been done, it is being done, and it's happening again. And which is why it's so important to understand history, to understand the playbook of authoritarianism, because then you can see it happening in real time. And it just like someone made a short about this the other day, and it just clicked in my head why that made so much sense about double standards being a tool of authoritarianism, where they hold other people, their opposition, accountable to certain things, but when they commit those same kind of acts, they don't. And because when it's done by one side, it's seen as bad. It's seen as evil. They're terrible people. But when it's done by the party that they favor, the person in power that they like, the authoritarian, it's seen as being strong, as being a necessary evil, as being a necessary step, that this is the sacrifice that we have to make for the greater good. When the opposite side does the same exact thing and you're absolutely terrible people, how dare you do it? And it stems back to a lot of what religious extremists try to do in Christianity by suppressing like women from being able to vote, telling women you're supposed to be submissive to your husbands. They also remind people that you have to be submissive to the government, and they point out pieces in the Bible that say that women have to be submissive to their husbands, and that those that are in power, those that are in the government, are ordained by God, and that we have to respect them. And then the famous phrase of "Give unto Caesar that which is Caesar's," and it's a manipulation of the overall meaning of what it really means to be submissive to a government or to your spouse, a woman being submissive to her husband. It doesn't say in the Bible that the man is better than the woman or the woman is less than the man, because we are all created equally under God. It is, like for me in my own marriage, it is, I have trust in my husband to be basically like a leader of my family, because I know that he has not only the physical strength to do so, but also the mental strength to do so, because he has been made differently than I am. He has a different set of responsibilities. And so I trust my husband, because he is a good man, because he is a man also of faith, to lead this family. But I also have an extremely important role that he cannot fulfill as a mother, as kind of like a home take care. My husband and I have different roles in our lives. We have a different set of systems, but he does things that I can't necessarily do all the time, and I do things that he cannot do necessarily. And so it isn't me submissing to my being submissive to my husband because I am weaker because of my gender or my sex. It is, I have trust in my husband to be the strength of my family. Same thing on the part about in Romans, when it talks about being submissive to the government. If in the layman's terms, it's understanding that during those times under Roman rule, Jesus was saying, keeping the peace, to not fight back, to not commit violence, to be humble, but to also, on the chapter right underneath it about saying being submissive to the government, it says right underneath there that if laws are contrary to what God has said, those are unjust laws. The laws of man can be unjust if they are contrary to God's laws. God's laws are above men, above governments, above rulers. And if they are contrary to God's laws, then they are unjust laws. We have lots of laws in modern societies that are unjust because they go against God's law. And that's the part that these leaders who are manipulating things using double standards to control people and authoritarianism don't get. And they don't care to get it either, because they just want to use a religious principle to control people. It's easier for them to control religious people because for the longest time, historically, churches have been used to suppress women, to keep people submissive to a king or to a government, because they have manipulated what the Word of God has said in the Bible about what it means to be submissive to a government, submissive to a husband, forgetting that the overall arcing story, message behind the Bible talks about God's love for all of his creation, not just selective, and that his most important commandment is to love your God, but also to love your neighbor. That's the two most important things. And so when you make people less than, gender or groups of people or other faiths or other minorities of people, less than other people, that is contrary to what God's laws are. And so when you look into understanding double standards and you see what they're actually doing, they're playing God is what they're doing. And they're able to do it because people specifically of religious institutions of faith have had that beat in their heads for hundreds and hundreds of years, that we have to be submissive to authority, even if that authority is not following God's laws. And that's the problem. They get them all the time. And that's why they try to suppress women from voting. That's why they try to keep women in the home and having kids, instead of having kids because you want to become a parent, because you want to have life, because it's a beautiful, wonderful thing to be a parent. But they're trying to use it as a tool to keep women submissive to them, just as the government tries to keep the people that it governs submissive to them, when governments are supposed to be serving those people, and they are supposed to be humble. If they are going to be religious, they are supposed to be humble under God, following his laws, not becoming God, not saying that because I do it, it's okay, because I have moral authority, because I am justified, it's righteous anger, it's righteously that I do this. They're bad for celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk, but I can celebrate the death of somebody else that's opposition of me, because those are bad people. It works for me, but it can't work for the other side, because I am all that. I have authority over you, versus I am supposed to humble myself, and I am supposed to have God above me instead of being God. And I really, really hope that Christians, that people that say that they love God and fear God, truly understand what's going on right now with what people are doing to our faith, with what politicians and government officials are doing with our faith. They're trying to manipulate it to control us. They are trying to replace God with themselves, instead of us looking to God first and then to man.